Hello, I'm Sam. Welcome back to Brickwall Pictures, or hello for the first time. Today I'm taking a look at Polytechnique from director Denis Villeneuve. These days, Villeneuve has established himself as a reliable force for cinematic excellence. But at the time he released Polytechnique, he was a relative unknown. I've noticed that Denis Villeneuve's pre-Prisoners films are not talked about to anywhere near the same degree as his post-Prisoners films, so I thought it would be interesting to shine a light on one of his earlier projects. A trigger warning may be necessary at this point, as Polytechnique is a film telling of the true story of the 1989 Montreal Massacre, which saw a misogynist entering an engineering school and targeting female students. This is a heavy, uncompromising film. Polytechnique was not Denis Villeneuve's first film, it was his third, but it was his first film that he felt he could stand behind and be unabashedly proud of, after the hampered quality of his debut feature, August 32nd on Earth, and the financial failure of his second feature film, Maelstrom. Villeneuve took a nearly decade-long hiatus before returning to the director's chair. In some regards, Polytechnique was akin to a repilot of sorts, to borrow a phrase from Community. His return saw his directorial style refined and precise, a scaled-back iteration of the masterful presentation that would follow in each of his subsequent films. Polytechnique was budgeted at $6 million, $500,000 less than his subsequent film Incendies, and $40 million cheaper than his film after that, Prisoners. The low budget is apparent in places, but Polytechnique does not in any way feel limited by its budget. The script and story are confined enough to be approachable with a $6 million budget, without lessening the impact of the violence to any degree. The film was shot in black and white and is, for all intents and purposes, a visually strong piece of work. Villeneuve's camera is dynamic throughout and restrained when it needs to be in all but a couple of brief moments. One minor issue I had with the film was actually related to this dynamic camera, as a couple of the individual shots came off as big and flashy without a particular purpose to them that I could discern. Maybe there was some motivation to these shots that I just haven't been able to piece together. I'm happy to give Denis the benefit of the doubt, but in the moment I was distracted by these couple of shots, as they came off as stylish for the sake of being stylish, rather than being in service of the story being told. Though the camera work is noticeably dynamic, that's not to say that the film is without stillness. In fact, it uses quiet and stillness quite well. This comes more from the characters rather than the film's visual style. Villeneuve is comfortable allowing his camera to linger on his characters as they silently mull over their internal monologues. And with a total runtime of just 77 minutes, the film is anything but slow. Polytechnique is a testament to Villeneuve's talents as a visual storyteller. The film is rather light on dialogue. There's far less dialogue than the average film. Many sequences play out wordlessly, and the Minimalist Soundtrack underscores this quiet intensity in a beautiful way. The sound design overall is top-notch, particularly the sounds of the gunshots. Each time the shooter pulls his trigger is made infinitely more terrifying by the deafening bang that accompanies it. These are not your typical movie gunshot sounds. They are harder, heavier, and at least for the first couple, if not for every single one, far more startling and intense than the gunshots you will hear in the average film. One weak point in the film, which I believe can be safely attributed to the lack of dialogue, is on the character front. The characters, particularly the two protagonists, are not as deep or well-formed as I would have liked. We hardly learn anything about them, but a deeper knowledge of them would have provided additional tethering to their mental spaces, and our fear for their safety as viewers once the horrific act at the center of the film begins to unfold. I appreciate that we never learn the killer's name. I think it's a good way to avoid glorifying that monster to any degree. He's actually played by the same actor who would star in Denis Villeneuve's next film, Incendies. In general, I was pleased with how the film presented the shooter, as this is something I've been critical of in similar films. In Polytechnique, we learn enough about the shooter to understand his psyche and rationale, and nothing more. This is the one character that I definitely did not want to learn more about, and I actually think he was used the perfect amount in the film. I greatly appreciate that there was no attempt to make him sympathetic, as this is something other mass shooting films are guilty of doing, and I just find that morally reprehensible. I also appreciate that Polytechnique doesn't tiptoe around its subject matter, another fault that other films tackling this subject are guilty of. The shooting is shown plainly and unflinchingly. There's no cutting away from the violence. There's no dressing it up as action. And there's no gratuitous gore or anything of the sort. The shooting is depicted with honest clarity and is just as horrific as an event like this truly is and can be portrayed in film. shy of a documentary context. I cannot commend Villeneuve and the film's producers enough for their handling of this subject matter. There is a chance that some viewers could still find the presentation of the shooting as too much to handle or potentially exploitative. But in my opinion, an honest, unflinching view is the only way to do this type of story justice. The filmmakers took the commendable extra step to screen the film for family members of the victims and receive their blessing before releasing the film to audiences. The only other areas I took issue with while watching Polytechnique had to do with the timing of certain things during the shooting, which didn't seem to quite line up, as well as some in-universe logic concerns that momentarily hurt my immersion. The sound of the gunshots, though well designed and deafening, do not seem to carry beyond whatever room the gun is fired in the movie's reality. For what seems like far too long after the start of the shooting, we see other students and faculty members going about their days blissfully unaware of the shooting happening in the building with them right down the hallway, until they come face to face with it. Before the shooting begins, the killer separates the men and women in one of the classrooms and sends the men out of the room, as he's a misogynist only interested in female victims. It's a disturbing scene, but in the immediate aftermath, I was pulled out of the moment, as all of the men sent out of the room seem to disappear. They don't run away, they don't tell other students or teachers, they just vanish. We follow one of these male students who serves as one of the two protagonists, and he seems to be the only one who makes any attempt to notify anyone. And even in his instance, the way his actions unfolded seemed a little illogical. He runs past dozens of other students without mentioning anything about what's happening to them, eventually only informing a single campus security guard, who then seems to do nothing. The guy tells him to call the police, and then that's the last time we see the security guard. The slow pacing of the shooting begs the question, why are the police not here yet so long after they've been called? Because we know they've been called. And it also calls into question the oblivious attitudes of the students continuing to go about their school days for what seems like at least an hour, potentially longer, after the start of the shooting. This is something that could pretty easily be finessed through either the script or in the editing room, I think. It also calls into question why the campus security that are present never intervened, or why no announcement was made over the school intercom or anything of the sort. These are questions that could have been swiftly answered with a short extra scene or two and some clarification of the timeline of the shooting. Now, to be clear, none of these questions hurt the overall experience of the film to too severe of a degree, but they did pull me out of the moment, just briefly. With such a short runtime, 77 minutes, there was certainly room for this type of clarification that could do wonders for a sense of immersion, which is important in a film like this. The issues I have with Polytechnique are all fairly minor. The film overall is excellent. It's a powerful watch, and it hit me really hard emotionally on two accounts, both of which caught me slightly off guard as they occurred outside of the centerpiece shooting. If you can handle the heavy subject matter, then I highly recommend Polytechnique. I am working on a Denis Villeneuve tier list, and depending on when you watch this video, it might already be out. So look for that video, see where I rank Polytechnique amongst the rest of Denis Villeneuve's entire filmography. Subscribe so you don't miss that. I also made a video essay on his film Enemy, which is a personal favorite of mine, so definitely check out that video as well. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you aren't already. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.